Hey, it's O,
and Co. with Carnival Cruise 101 Things You Need to Know.
boarding day edition.
Before we get started, in this video, we briefly touch on a few different topics. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the deep dive into those topics. Here are a few of our upcoming videos. Online check-in, what to expect. Sign and sale cards, what the heck is that? The Carnival app, looks bad now but comes alive on board. Pre-cruise fun, things to do in the weeks leading up to boarding day.
This is going to be a general overview of boarding day things.
Things.
Yeah, it's just different boarding day stuff.
I mean, it makes sense because boarding day does typically vary from port to port. So you're not going to see the same thing at every single port, but there are a lot of similarities in the process at each port that you need to be aware of.
The only thing we want to make note, if you want specific port information, then you're going to want to go to a video that specifically talks about your port, like our upcoming video, Port Canaveral Terminal 3. That is a very specific video to that port. What we're talking about today is just general boarding things that are going to kind of stay the same no matter where you are.
Yeah, like your check-in, your porters, the fact that you have to muster when you get on the ship, things like that.
Yeah, where check-in is it at a table? Is it at a stand? Where do you actually meet the porters? Those are the things that are going to be port specific and differ from just general information.
Absolutely. Make sure you check the port's website before you leave and get all the information you need before you arrive. You want to make sure you know where parking is going to be, whether it's going to be parking at the port or parking close by, or also if you need to drop off a rental car. You want to make sure you know exactly where that rental car station is so that you can drop it off and know exactly what you need to do to get back to the port. A lot of rental places have shuttles that will shuttle you back and forth so that you don't have to worry about getting an Uber or a Lyft to get back to the port. So this is the type of information you want to get prior to arriving at the port. Also, a good idea is to check to see if your hotel has shuttle service. A lot of times they'll have shuttle service back and forth to the port. Typically, when you get to the terminal or the port, there'll be signage everywhere. There's not going to be any shortage of signs letting you know where to go, where to park, or what station is going on at that particular place.
All right, one thing that's going to stand no matter what you do is there are going to be people there to guide you. People there to tell you where to go next, what to do next. There will be no shortage of Carnival employees available. You are a product and you are moving down the assembly line. It is constant contact.
And they are going to be harassing you about your boarding pass the entire way.
Don't put it away.
Every time you actually go to a different station, they're going to be like this. Do you have your boarding pass? Let me see your boarding pass. Let me read your boarding pass. Let me make sure your boarding pass applies to everybody that's in your group. Make sure everybody in your group is holding their boarding passes. It is going to be very frustrating, but
you
necessary.
Get it. Yeah. We understand it. But literally, you'll be walking and someone will say boarding passes. You'll show them everyone's boarding pass, and then you'll make it maybe 3 or 4 feet away, and someone else will say boarding pass. Passes. Like, I saw you, see me, see you, see me, show my boarding pass. But
it's just going to be a thing. So just be ready for that.
Yeah, and keep it in your hands. Keep quick access to it. One thing that you may want to consider if you have easy access to it, if you have kids who are of age and can carry a piece of paper in their hand, let them carry their own boarding pass. But the kicker to that is you also need to carry a copy of their boarding passes just in case they drop it. They sit it down somewhere. But it is a lot easier when you can just walk sort of like you're holding a ticket and everyone can show their individual tickets. It goes a lot faster versus someone standing there just sort of sifting through, trying to match up whose ticket goes with who. Always keep a spare copy of everyone's boarding pass if you let the kids carry their own. Our guys are young enough, or not young enough, they're old enough that they can carry their own boarding passes. And I have not done this in the past, but I'm like, why haven't I done this? It just makes more sense to just print extra copies. And this is, of course, if you have the capability. You do not have to print your boarding pass in color. So if you don't have access, I guess, go to a library.
And if you forget your boarding pass, they do have stations there where you can print your boarding pass. So don't stress about it. If you don't have it, if you forgot it, something happened, you can print them there at the terminal.
But it's no way that they follow us and they forgot their boarding pass.
Well,
Because we're going to make sure you're prepared. Let's get into a few boarding day tips. First up is your boarding day attire. You want everyone to be comfortable. So think Aaron's Day chic in terms of how you want to dress. Everyone should be wearing comfortable shoes. You should have some form of go bag on you, or I guess you can use your carry on bag, but I always try and separate my carry on from my go bag. Your go bag has, it's sort of like your purse, it has that stuff that you're going to need consistently: your hand wipes, hand sanitizer, toilet seat covers, which is a personal fave for me with smaller kids, a power bank, charging cable, things like that that you can get quick access to that you may need, as well as your travel docs, because sometimes you're going to need your hands free and you're going to want a quick place to put those travel documents. Once you are at the terminal, the first thing you're typically going to encounter is going to be your porters. Your porters are, it's like checking your luggage. They're the check bags. That's where you drop off all of your check bags. Do not give any type of travel docs, meds, your drinks to the porters. Don't give them CPAPs or anything that you need for survival. Porters are absolutely amazing, but things can happen. Instances where your luggage gets left behind, your luggage gets lost, and most of the time, if something significant happens to your luggage, it can't be retrieved. Because if they can't find your luggage and the ship is due to leave at 4 o'clock, they're not waiting for Carol's suitcase. They're leaving at 4 o'clock. So make sure anything needed for survival is in your carry-on bag that you keep on your person at all times. Now we're just going to talk about security. Security is relatively simple.
easy. It's simple. All you're doing is making sure you pick up all your bags, put it on the conveyor belt, and let them scan everything.
Just make sure you don't have things like curling. Oh, I'm sorry, not curling iron. Actual iron or
Scissors.
large
Big scissors,
scissors.
yeah.
Small scissors they typically let through, but nothing big.
No steamers.
Nothing, no weapons, nothing that can be used as a weapon, things like that. Or things that produce heat. They're typically not going to allow. A curling iron is fine. A flat iron is fine. Hair dryers are fine, even though they are on board. It's still okay to take a more powerful hair dryer because the hair dryer that they have on board it's pretty weak. We've got one kit with braids and one kit with locks, and the hair dryer really just it was awful. So bring your own hair dryer, and that will be allowed to security.
And also, don't record. They frown upon you recording and having your cameras on. It's been multiple times where they tell me to put my camera down because they don't want you to record the process and what goes on through security. So
you don't see this video. This isn't playing. We didn't record in security.
No, not at all. Why would we done that?
That's true. And then put the crime on YouTube. To be fair, this is the recording before we got the warning not to record, but it just gives you a quick view of what it looks like. Yeah. Now we get to the coveted check-in. This is the moment. This is the time you've been waiting for, where you get into the line and you're going to actually start showing your travel documents beyond just the boarding pass. Now is the time where you want to have your birth certificates ready. You want to have passports or passport cards, which we do recommend for kids so you can go through the more efficient line. A passport card is $50. It's not as expensive as a passport book, but Carnival will accept it as a passport.
But that's only for locations traveling out of the United States and coming back to the United States. You can't do that for locations internationally or traveling overseas.
Right. That's a very important add-on. After check-in, you wait. This is where you go and now you're just sitting and waiting for them to call your section or your
your section.
Is it?
Yeah, because you're waiting for the ship to be ready. So it has to. They have the platinum diamond section. They have the suite section. They have fastest to the front section, and then they have the general boarding section. So they just have a section.
With general boarding, there are groups, and so you just wait for your group, and everybody is typically going to be called in order. Don't try and get there too much early than the time you selected, because sometimes they'll turn you away. If you want to be one of the first to board on the ship, then we recommend waiting up until midnight on check-in day and trying to get that first slot for check-in, which is typically around 10:30 a.m. Have an afternoon or a late morning check-in time, then you're likely not going to have this portion where you're just kind of sitting around waiting. We always get early boarding. We get faster to the fun or suite access or something so that we can get that early boarding, because on boarding day, that is the day that I relinquish my children to Carnival, and I need to get them to Carnival as soon as possible.
Checked in, food, all that other stuff.
Exactly. They are Carnival's kids now. Something went wrong. Did you ask Mother Carnival? You're bored? Did you ask Papa Carnival? You're no longer my concern. I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not, but
we are.
Yeah, okay. If you have faster to the fun, this is where it shines because you get priority boarding. They will call your section before they start calling the general boarding groups. So you will literally get to go faster to the fun. Just a quick tip, if you haven't already, don't forget to check out our video on Faster to the Fun, which gives a nice detailed deep dive into all of the features of Faster to the Fun to help you decide if it's worth it or not. Just a quick tip, the kids will likely have their photos taken at check-in, and it's just so the ship has the most up-to-date photos of them and so that they can attach it to their sign and sail account. So whenever they're scanning their picture getting on and off the ship, I'm sorry, not scanning their picture, scanning their sign and sail cards getting on and off the ship, their pictures will come up. And in addition to that, after you have checked in, there's usually photographers right there between that transition period of check-in and going to sit or going directly onto the ship, depending on what time you get there, how packed it is, and if the ship is ready or not, where you can actually get your photograph taken with a backdrop of the ship. Okay, now the time has come. You're going to show that boarding pass maybe one more time, and then your foot is going to touch
the gangway. You're going to be walking towards the ship. You're going to be following the crowd. Everybody's going to be rushing to get on that marvelous ship so you can start enjoying your cruise vacation.
There's something magical about the gangway. It's like you're being teleported from reality of the stresses of life right into a atmosphere of joy, excitement, happiness. Something happens on the gangway. The energy is just different. It's a different, and I think it's because everyone around you is experiencing the same sort of glee and excitement. Some people will be rushing really fast. Some people will be walking really slow, just really relishing the moment. But there is a different energy about walking the gangway to the ship than any other experience that you have with vacationing. Getting on a train, boarding a plane, the energy is just different when you're on that gangway.
Yeah, you could tell based on just how everybody's moving, that the level of the enjoyment that people are seeing on the face. Then once you get on the ship, it's even bigger because it feels like you're just stepping into a party. The music's playing, it's loud. If you get on there early enough, the whole crew is there to welcome you, and they're just
Hyping you
screaming,
up.
just like, "Hey, welcome aboard," and everything like that. So you start feeling the energy, and you start getting pumped up.
All right, now we're on board. The first thing you want to do is put your phone in airplane mode. Get your phone in airplane mode on your way to your muster station.
Now, hopefully, you've already downloaded the Carnival app so you can make sure that you have everything downloaded before you put everything in airplane mode.
Very true. The muster station. You were putting your phone in airplane mode while you were on your way to your muster station. As soon as you board, there will be 457,000 Carnival Cruise employees holding signs telling you, begging you, pleading with you to go to your muster stations. If you do it as soon as you get on board, you can get it out of the way, and then you don't have to deal with it. You put your phone in airplane mode, you can connect your phone to the ship's Wi-Fi. Everything will not be available. However, you will at minimal be able to complete a portion of your muster station on the app. It's like half in the app and then half in person. So
It's trying to make it go faster, because if you could just view the video and listen to everything on the app at your own time, but then when you go check in with uh, the crew member, they're just checking off that you did everything you need to do and then putting you on your way. Because you don't want to be that person that is called out on the 6,000 announcements that they make on the first day to muster before we can leave the dock. They will say it a million times. Why? Because everybody has to muster before they can leave port.
Yep. And people have a tendency to get on board, and then the first stop they want to make is the bar. And now they're drinking, they're in the pool, they're having a great time, and
They forget.
They forget. They just forget. And so they come on the PA system and they're just like, send Brenda to muster station 7-9. Like, it's ridiculous. Do the muster station as soon as you get on.
Mind you all, folks, if you've not done so already, you must go to your muster stations on either deck 6, 7 and 8 and check in at your muster stations at this time. Now, folks, we cannot leave the port of Port Canaveral until all guests have mustered. So you, your families, your friends, everybody, please make sure you head to your muster stations now if you've not done so already. This is mandatory, and of course, before we kickstart the fun, you got to get all the safety done and dusted. So please, wherever you are around the ship right now, head to your muster stations on deck 6, 7 or 8. Check, and of course our team members will be there with the green paddles to help you out.
Okay, after your muster station, the way you do things is really just up to you. What we do is we go check to see if our room is ready. And if it's not ready, because we always have either faster to the front or a suite, we just leave our luggage at the room. And hopefully your sign-in sale card is available. And that will be in the mailbox at your room. If you don't have access, because sometimes they close the doors, you can't get back there to your room. But
some people just open the door and go back there. I wouldn't suggest.
Yeah, we're not telling you to do that. Don't do that. I mean, if you're really like pressed to get your sign-in sale card, then you might be able to like peek your head in and just kind of ask like, hey, can I just grab my sign-in sale card? And then sometimes the doors are locked. Yeah. And you can't open them anyway.
That's true.
So it's that the hallway that leads to the rooms, you won't always have access to before that 1:30 mark. However, if you knock or someone is going in, and it's always been a little iffy with faster to the fun, because once you say I have faster to the fun, they'll let you sit your stuff down. But sometimes there's no one there to let you in for you to say I have faster to the fun. I do feel like Carnival needs to streamline that process a little bit more so that you don't have to go through that, because basically at that point the stewardess is just taking your word for it. Or not the room steward.
Room steward.
Yeah, the stewardess. I don't know what I'm saying. But at that point, they're just taking your word for it. And sometimes you'll find that your door is open, and that allows you the ability to just go sit your stuff down. Because remember, faster to the fun does not give you early access to your room, period. It gives you access to put your stuff down so that you're not carrying around all of those extra carry-on bags that you bring on. After we have gone to our rooms, gotten our sign-in sale cards, the first thing we like to do after that is lunch. We go to lunch.
Guys Burgers.
Guys Burgers.
Guys Burgers. Guys Burgers.
We sit down. Is it Guys Burgers first always?
Always. Now, sometimes we walk through the buffet area because
Lido Marketplace.
They'll have stuff available and you can eat there. But typically we like Guys Burgers. So we go to Guys Burgers, get some lunch, sit down, open up our app.
Because that's when the app comes alive. Once you are on board, you've connected to the ship's Wi-Fi. The Carnival app turns into like a completely different monster. When you're at home, it's just like, hey, you've got 10 days into your trip, and anything that you click on just takes you to the website. But once you're on board, it becomes like this really fascinating and helpful tool that you will need consistently. So don't forget to come back and check out our video that's coming up within the next week or so on the Carnival Hub app. But when we get to lunch, we sit down, we relax, we get everybody's phone connected to Wi-Fi. We've got airplane mode on already. You definitely want to do that as soon as you step foot on board, because you don't want to forget and end up in the middle of the ocean roaming. So it's a must.
Yeah, those cruise charges, $5 a minute, something like that. That's a little bit excessive. So
it is. So
prepared.
Do that before anything else, the second you step foot on board. Some people even do it when they're still sitting in the terminal waiting. Me personally, we don't do that because we're scrolling on our phones or we're texting family saying, hey, we're about to board. So we don't put our phone in airplane mode until we're actually on the ship. However, back to lunch. We're at lunch. We're getting the app situated. If we got our sign and sale cards, then we have access to our folio numbers. You need your folio number to access certain purchases like Wi-Fi if you bought the internet package. The app will still work without Wi-Fi, but you won't have access to outside sites like Facebook and things like that without that package. We also get everyone
the messaging app.
Messaging app. Yes.
It's $5 for each person, but once you log in, you have the ability to buy the messaging app, and this allows us to communicate while we're on the ship. So every now and then, if you have iPhones, iMessage might work, but to guarantee that you can communicate with anybody in your party, I would suggest getting the messaging app.
And guarantee as best you can, because the Messenger app on Carnival is very spotty. There are periods where it's down and it just doesn't work at all. But nevertheless, that's what we do. We go to lunch. Typically, by the time we've gone to lunch, we've gotten to that point where the room is ready. The room is ready and we can get in there. We can get changed or situated, whatever the case may be. And the only other thing that I would say as a warning is there's a safety briefing that's done over the PA system in addition to your muster. If you have small children, warn them now that safety briefing is coming, because they are going to play the emergency alert system. And it is a loud horn.
That horn is loud.
So just warn the smaller kids that that's going to be a possibility, or not a possibility, a guarantee that they're going to hear that. That way, when they come on the PA system and they give you that warning saying, hey, we're going to be playing the sound, you don't have to go through a long explanation to the kids. You can just be like, hey, remember, they're about to play the horn, so let's make sure we're prepared. And we put our hands over our ears, or whatever the case may be, especially if you have a child who is sensitive to sound.
Yes.
Outside of that, it's just, don't miss Sailaway, the Sailaway party. You don't want to miss that. And my little tip for Sailaway is before you leave, learn a couple of line dances. Learn the cha-cha slide, learn the wobble, because those dances are really, really fun in a group if you know how to do the dance. And we taught our kids before our first cruise, we taught them how to do the wobble and the cha-cha slide.
Yep.
And oh my gosh, when I tell y'all, Liz just had the most amazing time. She just jumped right into it and just had a blast at Sailaway because she actually knew the dances ahead of time. And it's fun pre-cruise excitement.
Yeah, it's just something to get ready for.
So that's boarding day. That's pretty much it. Everything else that you do beyond that point is just enjoying yourself, and it's completely up to you. As always, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to
like and subscribe.
Bye.